In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some budget-friendly options for using large format that let you hone your skills without wasting money on the good stuff. That way you're fully prepared when it's time to load up the real deal. Getting started with large format film photography can be an experience in itself. Both 4x5 and 8x10 formats are incredible. But let's be real, they're incredibly expensive. If you think 35mm is pricey, your 36 exposure T-Max 100 cost you about 23 cents per shot. Not too bad. Now imagine spending well over $10 per shot. That's after development. A 50 pack of T-Max 100 4x5 is roughly $180 on a good day. That's about $3.60 per shot before development. Do you want to get into color? A 10 pack sheet of Portra 400 is $82, or roughly $8 per photo. Unless you're developing the film at home, you still need to get it sent off and developed. And let me tell you this, lab costs add up fast. The darkroom, for instance, charges $6 per sheet. Doesn't matter which film, it's $6 each. Toss in shipping and suddenly you're well over $10 a photo. It really does start to add up quickly. It's no wonder large format can be intimidating. One mess up could cost you hundreds of dollars. Well, let's just hope you're not taking that much film out on a day, on your first day at least. There is good news. I have a few cheaper options that I use personally to learn how to use my large format cameras, from 8x10 to 4x5 and even some 5x7. The cheaper alternatives let you practice until you feel comfortable with using your camera. That way you could spend your hard-earned money on the good stuff once you've learned how to use your camera properly. Let's start by talking about one of the most affordable options is in large format photography, X-ray film. I'll be focusing on two different stocks made by Fuji, HRU and RXN. These are widely available and cost effective. A box of HRU runs you roughly $47 before shipping, and a box of RXN roughly cost about $55 before shipping. Each box includes 100 sheets of X-ray film. Oh, don't worry. There's no radiation involved when using X-ray film. It's just called X-ray film because it's originally used in medical imaging. Technically, X-ray film is just silver gelatin coated film. There's no real difference as far as something special. There is some differences between it and normal film, mainly the base is blue. It's inexpensive partially because Fuji uses a recovery process or a leftovers process from their other film stocks to make this particular film stock or these particular film stocks. So why is X-ray film good for beginners? I'm going to break that down for you. To start with, they're both orthochromatic, though one has more sensitivity than the other. RXN is only blue light sensitive, where HRU is both blue and green light sensitive. You get a little bit more out of the green stuff, and it's cheaper, so I automatically recommend going for HRU over the RXN. As I said earlier, both are extremely affordable options, but let's break down the cost per sheet to give you an idea of what that's going to cost you or what that's going to set you back. A 100 sheet box of HRU breaks down to about 47 cents per shot. If you quarter each sheet, so you effectively end up with 400 sheets of 4x5 if you're using it for 4x5, that's a little almost 12 cents per shot. So incredibly cheap. Another great benefit about it is you don't need special equipment to cut the stuff down. You can use a razor blade and a dim red safe light, so you can cut it down in your darkroom or bathroom, provided that you block out any other external light sources. Also, on top of that, it allows you to develop under that same safe light, so you can watch the process happen and kind of get a development by inspection going, so you could see what you're doing, what it's going to look like before you finish the development process. So if you need to extend the development times, you can, because you can watch how much is actually happening. X-ray film is incredibly delicate. Unlike traditional film stocks, X-ray film lacks any sort of protective coatings, so touching it with anything or letting it rub up against anything during the development process can affect the outcome of your image. The film emulsion is also very soft. A couple of tips when handling this. Don't use tongs if you can help it. Wear some nitrile gloves or some latex gloves and try to pick it up by the edges or by the corners without touching the main part of the emulsion. Don't use trays with ridges or any sort of contact with either side of the faces. There is going to end up being scratching or some sort of damage to the emulsion if you do so. Flat bottom trays or a piece of glass in the bottom of your tray will work best. If possible, if at all possible, use dip and dunk tanks for your development process. If dip and dunk tanks are out of your budget, a flat bottom tray with a piece of glass in it should work just fine. Keep the film moving. Don't let it sit still for too long because you're going to end up with weird artifacts occurring from uneven development. Gentle movement, keep it off of the bottom, and you should be good. And I might have said it earlier, if not, X-ray film is double-sided. That could be an issue with some people, as it's only about 3 or 4 mils thick, at least the base is. It's a blue base. You're going to end up with an image on the side facing the lens and the back side. You may not notice it. Some photographers swear up and down that they can and that they don't recommend using it for any professional work. But again, if you're just learning, this stuff is 47 cents a shot. It shouldn't really matter. It should be there as a great way for you to learn how to use your camera and develop your own film for the camera, as this will likely save you the most money. Sending this film off to get developed is probably not a good idea. You're not going to end up with really good results unless they use specific developers for it. If you know somebody who has access to X-ray developing machines, you might be able to get it done, but your best bet is to do this at home. As far as developers that I recommend, I've used 2 developers for X-ray film in the past and have had success. Pyrocat HD and Dektol. Now, Dektol is a paper developer, so if you're interested in making contact sheets or contact prints with these, it might not be a bad idea to develop your film in Dektol and then use the same Dektol to develop your prints in. Dektol is just a great budget-friendly choice anyways. I usually develop my X-ray film in a 1+5 dilution and then use a water stop bath followed by any rapid fixer. If you're interested in using a staining developer, I'd recommend Pyrocat HD at a 1+1+100 dilution for a development time about 6 to 8 minutes at room temperature. For a stop bath, I recommend water, and for fixing, I recommend TF5 to help maintain that stain. If you use a rapid fixer, there's a good chance that you could damage the stain from Pyrocat, which is really the main reason to use a Pyro developer in the first place. For a starting point in regard to ISO, I'd rate it between 80 and 125 ISO, depending on the developer that you choose. Less is more with Dektol and going towards 125 for Pyrocat HD. Stay at ISO 100 if you're really uncertain for either. It's a good starting point either way. If you're looking for an even easier medium to start with instead of X-ray film, I'd recommend darkroom paper, just plain old silver gelatin multi-grade resin coated paper. While it generally costs more than X-ray film per shot, a 50 sheet box of 8x10 MGRC or Ilford's multi-grade resin coated paper goes for around $83. That works out to about $1.66 per sheet, or 42 cents per image if you decide to quarter it for 4x5. One of the greatest things about using MGRC is that it's compatible with Ilford's multi-grade filter set, so you can control the contrast depending on what filter grade you use. The main thing to keep in mind with using paper as a negative is it's incredibly slow. If you're shooting outdoors in full sun during the spring and summer months, you can start at around ISO 3, plus or minus 1 stop. So anywhere from 1 to 6 ISO. If there's a lot of blue in the image, then rate it rated at a higher ISO, meaning if you use more of the sky, there's a good chance it's going to be pretty dark. You can also contact print with paper negatives. It's no different than using a regular negative process. The main difference is that you are blocking more of the light, and you're going to have to spend more time in the darkroom to get an exposed image for your positive. But interestingly enough, you can skip all of that and add a bleaching step and a reversal bath along with a second development process and create a direct positive, kind of an instant, not necessarily really an instant, but kind of like an instant process. I've seen people do things like Afghan cameras with paper negatives, so there is possibilities outside of what X-ray film is capable of. At least with this, you can make the negative and then the positive directly from the same paper, or contact print it, end up using two sheets at the same time. Another big advantage is that this is also blue light sensitive like the RXN X-ray film, so that means you can use a red safe light to watch the development process yourself in the darkroom. Since this is a paper, I also recommend using Dektol for this. Dektol is such a widely available and cheap to use paper developer that it's just, for beginners, I think Dektol's a good starting developer for anything you're going to do. Dektol can be a bit aggressive on a lot of different film types, so don't use it as a one fix all. But if you want to use it, if you want to make darkroom prints, Dektol's a great thing to start with. So that's pretty much it. If you have any ideas about saving money for large format film photography, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to make another video related to other tips to reduce cost. Using things like Dektol and Pyrocat tend to help with saving a bit of money for developers. You tend to have to use Pyrocat as a one-shot developer, whereas Dektol, I've developed 50 plus sheets of X-ray film in the same dilution that I'd mixed up weeks before. Dektol lasts a long time and is still very active long after what the box says it should. Pyrocat tends to exhaust everything within the one sheet that you tend to develop. That's it. It usually uses up most, if not all, of its energy in one shot. Anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.